diabetes, and then especially like in Asia, diabetes is one of the very prominent chronic disease these days. Coronavirus. I'm like, I think it's a top one or top two chronic disease these days in Asia, and I think it's not. I think it's basically it's because of the diet that we have been following these days. For example, in Hong Kong, like, or in Asia, we always eat like noodles, rice, all these carbs, right? And then these are actually not really good for your body. And because like for all the Asians, we tend to eat too much carbs. And I mean, like back then, like we have to work a lot. Like lots of people have to do all those like work in farming, or like they have to do all those like labor, like intensive work, right? So that's why they have to intake a lot of carbs in order to support them, like the daily life. But then like these days, like our habit change, so we are more like staying in the office or like working at home instead of like doing all those like labor intensive work anymore. So that's why, to be honest, like the diet that we have always been taught that our grandma or grandparents might have to change a little bit. For example, like the content of carbs that we intake every single day might have to be reduced a little bit more. And then, however, like these days, like lots of people are still rely on carbohydrates a lot. So therefore, you can tell like there are more men and women are having like big bellies these days. So people who have like big bellies, which we call like visceral fat, it's actually really bad for your body. So we have like subcutaneous fat, which is below your skin, and then we have visceral fat, which is surrounding your organs. And then especially like when people who have like big bellies, they have a lot of visceral fat which is surrounding their guts, the liver. So that's why you have heard of like fatty liver, right? So these are disease which are highly dependent on your diet as well. So people who drink a lot of alcohol, who have like very unhealthy diet, this is actually really bad to your body. To be honest, like polycystic ovarian syndrome is one of the disease that affecting most of the reproductive aged women these days. So people who've got like and then for polycystic ovarian syndrome, there are quite a lot of like different a few diagnostic criteria. But then like for the most common diagnostic criteria is that you have to fulfill 2 out of 3 criteria, which is the first one is that you are having an ovulatory situation, which means like you have, for example, like irregular menstrual cycle, or you have difficulty of conceiving. And then the other symptom will be you're having excess hair growth on your body. And then the third criteria will be the ultrasound phenotype of having polycysts in your ovary. So this is like the 3 criteria of having polycystic ovarian syndrome. And for these women, they usually have like a lot of like visceral fat in their body. So therefore, their body shape is more like men body shape. They have like central obesity, and they have like different kind of research saying if women who have polycystic ovarian syndrome, if they are willing to lose weight, they actually their symptoms actually will improve a lot, and plus they will have higher chance to conceive in the future. I always ask people to follow a diet, so that's why my diet wouldn't be like, oh, chicken breast or broccoli, that's it, and then like I really can't do it. So therefore I would suggest you like the guidelines as Paula said, like the quantity of food that you can consume. So for example, like Paula just mentioned about like 3 plus, right? So it basically it means that for 3 meals, I mean like we're gonna have like 3 meals per day, and for each meal we need to have like plenty of veggie. So especially which is good as like green leaves veggie. And then afterwards we can have like 30 grams of protein, and I would highly recommend to have like a palm size of meat protein, for example chicken fillet, chicken breast, or chicken thigh, or salmon. And I saw there's like a garlic chili prawn, which I was like looking at the recipe, I'm like, oh my god, this is so good. For example, like prawn, you can have like, for example, for my palm size, I can have like 3 tiger prawns, or cod, or fish, or whatever you feel like having. And then afterwards, like for the non-meat protein, I would recommend of having like a fist size of non-meat protein every single meal. So for me, I usually go for edamame. This is really good non-meat protein, or tofu, or what else? Black beans.
Do you actually eat the egg yolk? Because that's a huge debate. Like, eat the egg yolk, don't eat the egg
Ah,
yolk. Like, what do you suggest people do when they eat eggs?
I mean, like, cause I don't restrict my calories, to be honest. So I mean, for like for the entire egg, most of the calories are actually coming from the egg yolk. So that's why if people who wants to consume less calorie, they will neglect the egg yolk and just have the egg white. But then, to be honest, egg yolk, it has lots of nutrients. I mean, for example, it has like nutrients which is good for your skin, for your hair, for your nails. So plus it has like lots of micro and macronutrients as well that your body needs.
Ooh.
So I would recommend like per day don't take more than 2 egg yolk. If you want to eat healthy, but then at the same time you can eat what you want, but then eating healthy, I think we can choose something which is much more better. For example, quinoa, for example, brown rice, for example, I usually take sweet potato in the morning because I need my body needs carbs, but then I don't want to have all those like refined carbohydrates, so that's why I would choose sweet potato, or like corn. It's actually really good as well. So these are natural carbs that you can find. The reason that we try to avoid refined carbohydrates is that these are carbohydrates that your body will absorb instantly, and it will lead to like a shoot up of insulin in your body, and that is not good for your body. So therefore, like congee is actually really bad because some of the veggie, it has very high carbohydrates content. For example, cauliflower. So cauliflower is, I would consider cauliflower, it's more like a carbs instead of veggie. I mean,
Damn it,
it
I
is
love
veggie.
cauliflower.
It is veggie, but then the carbs content is so much more higher than fiber. So therefore, if I do want to pick a good veggie, I will pick green leaf veggie. For example, kale. For example, all those like rocket salad. These are like really good veggie. But then, for example, for broccoli have very high carbs as well. Oh, and buttersquash, and pumpkin. These are carbs as well. So lots of people thought those are like veggie, but they are not. They're actually carbohydrates. For